Tilton here with my SED 553 data share. Hey guys, Amanda Tilton here with my SED 553 data share. Student information. I used 2 different students to complete my probes, 1 student for all of the academic and 1 student for the behavioral data collection. Student A is a senior who receives services under the disability category of intellectual disability. He receives all of the instruction in the resource room setting for his core classes. He does attend the local vocational school for automotives. This is his 2nd year in that program. He has his driver's license and he plays on the football team and is pretty much typical teenage male in that regards. His instructional level is low for both reading and math. It's around grades 4 to 5. Student B, whom I used for the behavioral data collection, is a sophomore who also receives services in the resource room for his core classes. He receives them under the multiple disability category for intellectual disability and other health impairment for ADHD. He has taken health and PE in the gen ed setting, but his academic instructional goals are between grades 2 to 4 for ELA and 3 to 4 for mathematics. Methods utilized and data collected. For the reading probes, I used EasyCBM, Passage Reading Fluency, at the grade 5 level. I chose grade 5 because that is where his instructional level goals are on his IEP. The student is given a passage and timed for 1 minute on how many words he can read correctly. On the first probe, he read 92 words total, with 3 errors for 89 correct words per minute. The second probe, he read 114 with 4 errors. In the third probe, he read 95 words with 5 errors. This placed him at the 9th percentile rank for the first probe, 20th for the second, and 9th for the third. I feel as though I maybe should have backed down and tried the grade 4 passage to see if he would have been closer to that 50th percentile benchmark. Here's the graph of his data. The blue line is his performance on the probes, and the red is the 5th grade benchmark. It's 145 for fall, 151 for winter, and 168 for spring. The student was well below the 5th grade fall benchmark. For the writing data collection, I used writing probes that were generated using Intervention Central's writing probe generator. I personalized some of the prompts with the student's name and a friend's name to make it a little less hokey with him being a 12th grader. The student is given a prompt and 1 minute to think about it before writing, and they were supposed to have a 3-minute timer, but somewhere along the way I got in my head that a 5-minute timer was okay. So these results are with a 5-minute timer. I did score him on total words written, words spelled correctly, and correct writing sequence. Because I used a 5-minute timer, the student scored off the chart on the Intervention Central website. I had to use the table in our Overton textbook because it went through the 8th grade. These are the results of his writing probes. The green bar is the grade 5 fall benchmark. And as you can see, for total words written, he scored above the benchmark on all 3 probes. For words spelled correctly, he also scored above benchmark for all 3 probes. For correct writing sequence, that was his lowest performance, and he scored a little below benchmark or pretty close to it, but not at benchmark. for grade 5. And again, this is with a 2-minute time extension. For the math CBMs, I use the Computation Fluency math worksheet generator on the Intervention Central's website. I chose a mixed skill probe with 2-digit number addition with no regrouping and 3-digit number subtraction. They were combined on one worksheet that had 12 problems on it. I administered the test with a 2-minute timer as suggested on the Intervention Central guidelines. It was fairly easy to score. He got 1 point for each correct digit. His first probe, he had 12 correct digits. His second probe, he had 15. His third, he had 16, which gave him a mean of 14.3 correct digits. The graph for this grade 4 and 5 instructional level of correct digits is between 24 and 49. The student was well below grade 4 and 5 benchmark. They have the same benchmark for both grades. The end of the year benchmark for grade 1 is 20 correct digits, and the student did not meet even the first grade benchmark for that computation. On to the behavior data collection. Again, this is with a different student because student A doesn't exhibit any atypical behaviors. He's a fairly well-natured child who always does what's asked and is very respectful. So I chose to do a different student. And again, he is a sophomore with intellectual disability and ADHD. I wanted to track his argumentative behaviors, and I chose to try event recording because it seemed like that would be the easiest to do while I was in the classroom by myself, and his behaviors aren't really severe enough to have a duration that is measurable. I observed him during the specially designed instruction science class with 2 other students. I observed in 15-minute intervals on 3 different days. And this is just verbal arguing with either a peer or staff. And the number of times it occurred in the first observation was 7. The number of times in the second observation was 1. And the number of times in the third observation was 4 times. My hypothesis as to why he argues over every little remark is he maybe wants to exert control or power. My guess is because he hasn't had much in his life, or he's just trying to gain attention, again, because he hasn't had much in his life. But those are just hypotheses. Here's the graph of the behaviors. The blue line is the number of times, so 7, 1, and 4. The red line is the rate per minute. The first day that had the most instance, it was nearly an average of nearly 1 time every 2 minutes. The second day was a major decrease, with arguing only happening once, and the last data collection day had 4 events. Initial recommendations. My initial academic recommendations take into consideration the fact that the student is a senior who is about to graduate, and he's significantly below benchmark, and he has been for most of his school career. So for recommendations for reading, I would recommend to continue to practice reading aloud for fluency in small groups or individually, working on vocab and sight words at the 5th grade level, and including words that he will see in the real world, such as prohibited or pedestrian or park at own risk. Continue to monitor progress to determine if gains are being made. Recommendations for writing: individual or small group instruction, focusing on practicing spelling everyday words that he will encounter in the real world with job applications. More work and practice with grammar and punctuation, and teaching technology tools to assist, like how to use spell check or speech to text, etc. Recommendations for math would be to continue to practice fact fluency and progress monitor for growth, reinforce calculator skills, focus on number computation skills that would be applicable in the real world, such as place value to compare cost, decimals for dealing with money, and grocery math, things like that. Recommendations for the behavior student might be to refer the student to social work services to process some of those feelings and promote positive social interaction, reinforce positive behaviors, trying to extinguish the negative behaviors, model positive social interaction, and possibly look for a peer mentor. All right, good night.